Hi there, Andrew Moore, international teacher of English, coach. I work with professionals from all over the world. I've taught the highest level of Cambridge English and was offered 2 different directorships. Right now, I'm taking what I do onto my own platform and continue helping professionals around the world. So this video is about idioms versus phrasal verbs. Okay, I've got some pretty strong opinions on this, and so let me share them with you. Okay, phrasal verbs, jump into, right? Go to. These are forms of idiomatic speech without being idioms. So phrasal verbs are fantastic and seemingly endless. Some phrasal verbs, or complex phrasal verbs, actually can be considered idioms. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but what I find with so many international students is that they feel that they need to have these collections of idioms that they're waiting to pull out in a conversation and have everybody go, "Oh, wow, what a fantastic idiom. You sound like a native speaker." Well, that's not true. And if you don't know how to really present that idiom correctly, it's just not worth your effort. I think idioms cause more problems than they're worth. So to use an idiom to explain why I don't like idioms, I would tell you this: the juice isn't worth the squeeze, okay? If you're using phrasal verbs, they're more appropriate for an international business environment, okay? Idioms are not. Most of the time, most idioms would be awkward in a business setting, but also an idiom from Boston is not the same idioms from Christchurch, New Zealand, or from Edinburgh, Scotland. Okay, it doesn't work like that. Many times idioms are, you could say raining cats and dogs. Okay, big deal. It's archaic. It's abstract. It doesn't, we only know it because we know it, and it doesn't have a lot of value, right? And what I was starting to say is that many times, most cases, idioms are location dependent. I'll give you an example. In Boston, they like to say wicked. Wicked can mean good, wicked can mean bad, wicked can be whatever context you're fitting it in. I was raised in Hawaii. We would say dakine, D-A space K-I-N-E, dakine. Dakine can mean anything, right? Oye, hey, pasa mi dakine, right? Huh? Right? If I use the idiom from Hawaii in Los Angeles, even though we're still on the West Coast, I'm going to get a quizzical look. That doesn't serve you in business, okay? Phrasal verbs are fun, they're fantastic, they're flexible, they're literal, and they are figurative, right? Idioms really usually are only figurative and many times archaic, and they do become outdated. Raining cats and dogs, I would never say that in normal speech, right? That's something maybe my great-grandparents would have said, but it's something that many English students are taught. It doesn't work. But phrasal verbs are timeless. They're timeless, they're international, they're appropriate for business, right? They're fun, they're figurative and literal, and, again, they're fun. I really believe that phrasal verbs are a part of English that are underrepresented. So that's my opinion on phrasal verbs versus idioms. I highly recommend getting into phrasal verbs and idioms. One benefit of studying idioms would be to understand when other people use them. Okay? But if you use an idiom and you think you're being fashionable for some reason, and then the person asks you, "What does that mean?" and you don't have a strong contextual meaning of why you're using that idiom, it doesn't serve your case at all. Okay? Phrasal verbs are easy to understand, they're easy to explain, and they're complex and idiomatic. So again, phrasal verbs for the win every time. They're exactly what I recommend to professional students rather than trying to squeeze idioms in. Now, I will tell you a very short story of an idiom in disaster. I was working with a fourth generation Japanese CEO of a company. Okay, his English was strong, but of course he spoke at a pace that was comfortable for him, so he could correctly enunciate and pronounce words, and he was doing great. Well, he was telling me about a business deal that went down the tubes, and I told him, I said, well, sir, back to square one. Back to square one. What do you mean? And I went, oh, shoot. Because I got too casual in my speech, now I was going to have to explain to him what I meant by back to square one. Okay. Well, I told him that it just basically means that you haven't lost anything. You're just starting over in a process. He was still confused. What's square? What are you talking about? It was bad. And we had a poor internet connection, so that made things even worse. Well, the class ended, and I was thinking later in the evening, what is that from? And then I remembered. Back to square one comes from the game of Monopoly, right? So you can get sent back to the beginning of the game, not lose anything, but you're starting over. So the next day, I wrote him a full explanation of why I said back to square one, and I apologized to him for being too casual in my work with him and in my spoken English. And so I had to eat it. And there you go, another idiom. Right? We have to be really careful about this. What do you mean eat it? I don't understand eat it. Why did you eat it? You see what I mean? So idioms, I don't even think they're fun. In most cases, I think they're, but I'm a native speaker of English, so they pop out of my mouth sometimes, but I need to own my language. So hopefully now you understand the value of phrasal verbs and the treachery that can be experienced by using idioms around the world. Okay? Thank you for your time. Phrasal verbs, yes. Idioms, All right. Thank you so much. Andrew Moore. Bye.